Welcome to the Daily Boogie.
I wanted to talk a little bit about North Korea. Let's bring up the North Korean stuff. Obvious Trump was not racist until he ran for president. Exactly, Crystal. No, he was, but he just probably spoke in code. Like, he probably spoke in ultra-nationalist code, subversive code, that only other ultra-nationalists can pick up. Because he's the ultra-nationalists are very crafty like that. Very crafty indeed. Very, very crafty. North Korea's Kim Jong-un crosses into South Korea. Let's have a little look. The monumental moment. Okay. What do you reckon they're saying? Wouldn't you love to know what they're saying? I hear the noodles are better here because you use more than household pets for your meat sources. Yes, you've heard correctly, Kim. We're in the first world. We even have a McDonald's. Really? Wow. Someone get me a quarter pounder like my hero, Donald Trump. What's with the hold handing? Crosses the border. There you go. Isn't it lovely? Fantastic stuff. Yeah, General Eaton's on the money. They're discussing the latest Jersey Shore episode. That's what I thought too. So obviously it's a monumental thing. We did a video a while ago going over MSNBC saying this is horrendous the way Donald Trump's tweeting because he's doing everything wrong. All the other previous presidents had it right on North Korea. Of course they didn't. They got it wrong. Kimmy says kissy kissy. So I just wanted to go back in the time machine and play this for fun. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is Rachel Maddow. So it is Rachel Maddow. So, because I think it's important to show like just how wrong these people are repeatedly, how wrong they are, because it's easy for us to forget because the way the news cycle's moving right now, you forget 24 hours later, you forget what garbage these people come out with. But I like to keep track of it because I'm a bit of a sadist like that. I'm a bit pedantic like that. So I take notes and I'm like, okay, 5 months ago, Rachel said this, and I just keep it in my little memory file for the opportune moment. And then when that moment comes, I'm like, okay, let's have a look. So Rachel Maddow.
In late 1968 and early 1969.
See, this is beautiful. She's setting it up here with the Cuban Missile Crisis right from the get-go. These are dark times. The president is risking life on this planet. This is horrendous. Does everyone remember the Cuban Missile Crisis? That was delicate, but eventually the hero JFK saved the day, ladies and gentlemen. This is just like that.
In late 1968 and early 1969, late surveillance flights over the Korean Peninsula and just outside North Korean airspace. They did these things almost every single day. And this was a low-profile effort, not just because surveillance efforts by definition are designed to be kept secret. It was also low profile because the American public was focused on other things, even if you were just talking about foreign policy. I mean, we had a brand new president at the time. Richard Nixon was sworn in January 1969. He had run in part on the intimation that he had a secret plan to end the Vietnam War. Nixon did not have a secret plan to end the Vietnam War. The war effort by then was massive and growing and more domestically divisive than ever. And so U.S. sailors and airmen and Marines flying routine surveillance flights near communist North Korea at the time, it was something the United States was doing. It wasn't exactly a front-of-mind concern for the American public, though, until all of a sudden it had to be.
The evidence now is the North Koreans did indeed shoot down the American plane, as they boasted they did. Some wreckage full of shrapnel holes has been found, but of the 31 men aboard, they have found no survivors. So far, President Nixon has said nothing in public. He has left it to the Pentagon to tell what few details there are. A Pentagon spokesman, Daniel Henkin, had a short statement telling what the U.S. military had learned so far.
All evidence now available to us, including North Korean claims and debris sightings, leads us to believe that
Movie Time Blue says, I love how Rachel breaks down stories only she believes.
the aircraft was shot down by North Korean aircraft. As of this hour, regretfully, there has been no report of survivors.
It seems certain that 31 crewmen of the plane are dead. An American destroyer found the bodies of 2 of them today, and the Defense Department said it was gravely concerned about the prospect of finding any survivors. Defense Secretary
Dr. W says, I had to enter the room during Mad Cow. I'm sorry. I've put out trigger warnings. This is basically a liberal media review show. So, you know, puppies and crayons are at the door as you come in. If you want to stroke a cat, you'll have to bring your own, I'm afraid. You'll have to grab your own pussy if you're a Trump supporter, ironically.
Terry Laird was talking today to a meeting of newspaper editors, and he gave some details on the lost airplane.
It should be understood, I think, by all, that during the last 3 months, for the first 3 months of 1969, there were 190 flights, similar in nature, flown over this general area. These missions have been flown over international waters for more than 20 years. They've been flown right in this particular area in the Sea of Japan.
See, I love historical footage just as much as the next person, but you can see what's being built up here, right? What Rachel and her, more so her producers, what they're doing. They're going to apply the same atmosphere that occurred in 1969 with the shooting down of this plane over North Korea to current day, which was about, I think it was September last year that this was recorded, this little piece on Rachel Maddow's show. So you can see what we're doing here. We're prepping the audience. We're getting them ready to be afraid, right? This is very dangerous, what's happening here with North Korea. Donald Trump is playing a very dangerous game indeed. And and we all know he's a lunatic and a white supremacist. So that just makes it twice as bad.
There was absolutely nothing unusual about this mission.
There was nothing unusual about that mission, except it was shot out of the sky.
Yeah.
31 Americans died.
Yes, they did.
2 Soviet-made North Korean MiG jet fighters shot down that surveillance plane.
Yes, we know.
And as you heard in that somewhat bewildered statement from the defense secretary at the time, the U.S. didn't believe there was anything unusual about that particular flight that would have warranted any sort of confrontation, let alone that shoot down.
Don't get all
yes,
conspiracy
things were tense
theorists
between
on
us
it,
and
Rachel.
North Korea at the time in the spring of 1969. But things were more or less stressful and tense all the time with them.
Yeah.
Which has continued to be true.
There you go.
One prevailing theory at the time as to why they maybe picked that date to shoot down that particular plane and kill those 30 U.S. sailors, not
Is Rachel going full Alex Jones?
one U.S. Marine. One prevailing theory on why that flight got targeted is because that flight happened to take place on April
Crystal asks, Nazi Hitler Trump? Is there any other kind?
15th. And April 15th was the birthday of Kim Il-sung. And so maybe that was just the way that he decided to celebrate.
Yeah.
In 1994, they
Give
did
us
it
the
again.
news.
This time it was a smaller U.S. military aircraft. It was a 2-seater Kiowa helicopter. One of the crewmen was killed. The survivor was named Chief Warrant Officer Bobby Hall. He was held.
Wordsmiter says she uses a lot of objectives for somebody who's just reporting the news. Have you noticed that?
Held prisoner in North Korea for 13 days before they finally let him go.
Tonight, after surviving a helicopter crash and 14 days in captivity.
Why aren't there more people on the cable news channels, ladies and gentlemen, called Lucky? I want Lucky on my nightly news. I think it would be very difficult to have fake news if the reporter's name was Lucky Severson. Can we get Lucky back out? Is he still alive? Is he still kicking? Let's find ourselves a Lucky. Lucky for late night reporting.
Doctors here at Yongsan Army Base gave Hall a thumbs up.
Looking considerably more poised after the checkup, Chief Warrant Officer Hall was ready to go home.
I'd also like to express my gratitude towards my family, friends.
Make Lucky great again.
And everyone in Brooksville and everyone that had anything to do with helping me and supporting me get back to the United States.
Ah, good. There you go. Philly.
United States and North
Philly's joined us, telling us that, telling everyone what they think. Welcome back, Philly. Good to have you.
Korea have been at some level of hostile standoff for decades. As countries go, we tend to think of North Korea as a little bit crazy. And most of our domestic discussion about what to do about them includes U.S. experts and observers trying to figure out exactly how crazy they might be, how rational their thinking might be, how far they might be willing to go toward making good on their always bellicose and hyperbolic threats. In the past, though, North Korea really has proven itself happy to shoot down U.S. military aircraft and kill.
What we're doing here, Philly, since you came in late, we're playing an old clip from Rachel from September last year. And we're applying it to the current situation in North Korea, which is thus literally holding hands and skipping over the border. There we go. Little hand holding. Oh, isn't that lovely? Okay. So we're just remembering where we were back in September last year on the Rachel Maddow show. So no need to be triggered, my friend. Let's just going back in the time machine.
U.S. service members when they get the chance. And while North Korea remains something of an enigma to us among nations, we still don't know exactly how to outthink them or predict their next actions.
No, we don't know.
We have
we've
seen
got
how
no
they've
idea.
behaved in the past.
Yep.
The new real wild card in this difficult relationship is our own president. After
the wild card.
After several days of Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump trading personal insults and threats to destroy one another, today the North Korean foreign minister stepped up to a bank of reporters and cameras outside his hotel in New York.
So 5 minutes of prep work for this opinion piece, ladies and gentlemen. And Philly's right; she's an opinion show, not a reporter. I take that on board. So we've had nearly 6 minutes of prep for the opinion on the current day, which was back in September.
New York, where he's staying to attend the UN General Assembly. And he told reporters that North Korea believes the recent insults and threats by President Trump constitute a declaration of war.
Whoa! Declaration of war? Declaration of war? The recent threats by Donald Trump constitute a declaration of war? Happy, happy, joy, joy, 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 joy. Whee! Yay! This is the nicest, sweetest war I've ever witnessed. If only all wars could be done by holding hands and skipping over the border together. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Against his country. The audio from the translator here is not that great, but let me tell you what he said here. He said, all of the member states participating in the United Nations should clearly remember it was the U.S. who first declared war on our country. The UN Charter stipulates individual member states have a right to self-defense.
North Korea is the victim. Rachel Maddow.
Since the United States declared war on our country, we will have every right to take countermeasures, including the right to shoot down U.S. strategic bombers, even when they are not yet inside the airspace border of our country.
Yes.
You know, it's one thing when they are threatening to turn us into a nuclear sea of fire or some crazy thing, or they're calling our president mentally deranged, or any of the other playground/South Park tantrum stuff that makes nuclear North Korea scary, but also sometimes funny as well. But clearly, if there has been any strategy behind our new president's insult comic approach to the North Koreans.
Here we go. Tell us what you really think, Rachel. Open up, because the internet never forgets, darling.
It doesn't seem to be working. Remember when he threatened he would rain fire and fury like the world has never seen on rain?
Donald Trump's insult-laden tweets, ladies and gentlemen. It's not working. It's not working. He's gonna kill us all. He's a madman. He's the madman in chief. This unhinged, deranged dictator lunatic with orange skin is going to end us up all dead. Damn it. It's not working. It's not working. And happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Shall we step over the border together? Yes, why not? Shall we hold hands? Yay! Oh. And back over we go. Yes. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that fantastic?
Nuclear sea of fire or some crazy thing, or they're calling our president mentally deranged, or any of the other playground/South Park tantrum stuff that makes nuclear North Korea scary, but also sometimes funny as well. But clearly, if there has been any strategy behind our new president's insult comic approach to the North Koreans, it doesn't seem to be working. Remember when he threatened he would rain fire and fury like the world has never seen? He'll rain that down on North Korea if they ever threatened us again? Remember what their response was? They tested a hydrogen bomb.
No!
I mean, they started threatening us the day he wielded his fire and fury at them, and they didn't stop. And they then tested a hydrogen bomb.
Oh, wow.
And the threats have escalated, and the missile tests have escalated, and the
the threats have escalated.
Nuclear tests and the nuclear posturing, and now the nuclear threats have just escalated. I mean, given the latest round of threats that North Korea has now issued today.
Her voice is shaking too. Did you notice that?
I have two questions, both of which I think can be answered.
Okay, let's do it.
The first one's about the latest nuclear threat they have made. The United States, what was then the Soviet Union, and China have all conducted tests of nuclear bombs.
Yes, they have.
Where the bomb blew up in the air, an atmospheric nuclear test.
Yeah.
So there are a few countries on Earth who have tested nuclear bombs that way. The United States and the Soviet Union both tested nuclear bombs in the air over the open ocean. China did it over some uninhabited desert on its own territory. But we haven't had a test like that, an atmospheric nucler test.
See, Philly. I love Philly. He says, we thought we were doing better in the Vietnam War too, but we lost. Yeah, 'cause this was a common thing to see in the Vietnam War, wasn't it? Like, images like this. Philly, it's over. It's over. You lost. You lost. You lost, baby. That's okay. It's okay to get things wrong from time to time. That's fine. It's okay to get things wrong, but a real person of integrity and values at least stands up when they are wrong and says, you know what, hand on heart, I got that wrong. Philly's like, this could still fall apart. He's literally holding hands with the South Korean leader and skipping over the border in a joyful glee manner. It's okay if you get it wrong from time to time, man. That's fine. Sometimes you've just got to tip your hat to the opponent and say, you know what? Good job. Good job.
On this planet since that Chinese one in 1980, 37 years ago. Well, North Korea, in response to this latest fight with President Trump, is, as of now, saying that they are going to detonate their new hydrogen bomb in the atmosphere over the Pacific Ocean.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Again, we haven't had an atmospheric nuclear demonstration or nuclear test on this planet in 37 years. So,
and we still haven't.
My question about that is that threat real? Do we have a way of knowing if...
Of course it's real. Donald Trump's a maniac, and his tweets are only going to exacerbate the end of life as we know it. This is not a test.
They are capable of pulling that off. Relatedly, if they do try to pull that off, what are the material consequences of that for the rest of the globe?
Wow.
And is there reason to worry that they might screw it up? They've had this incredibly increased pace of nuclear tests and new missile tests that they've been displaying over the last several months as President Trump has ramped up his threats and insults. I mean, they've been a nuclear power since 2006.
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing missile tests because of Donald Trump's tweets, ladies and gentlemen. Because Donald Trump has been tweeting, they've been testing. Tweeting and testing. Testing and tweeting. Tweeting and testing. Testing and tweeting.
They've been a missile threat to their immediate neighbors and to countries in increasingly far-flung parts of the globe since even before 2006. But now that they're threatening a new, highly unusual...
Kimmy thinks I should do voices for cartoon villains for a living.
very rare nuclear demonstration in the sky, do we have reason to fear that they might be able to successfully do that? Or that they might make a mistake if they try to do something like that?
Yes.
Is a mistake also potentially very dangerous if they give it a try?
Just get to the part where this is all Donald Trump's fault and he's going to cause a nuclear attack by North Korea because he tweets mean things.
So that's my first question about their new nuclear threat. Here's my second question. They're now threatening to shoot U.S. warplanes out of the sky. What was the quote exactly? Quote, even when they are not yet inside the airspace border of our country.
Yes.
And yes, we all know that the North Koreans make threats against the United States all the time. They have trademarked bellicosity in international relations.
That was lovely
U.S.
from Rachel.
warplanes fly over the Korean Peninsula and near to North Korea as a matter of course. I mean, just because we've got 35,000 U.S. troops based in South Korea, but also because every time North Korea does a new test or issues some new threat.
Kimmy says Rachel is the Alex Jones of the left, and Crystal says, second question. Every tweet, missiles fired.
The way we typically respond now is by sending strategic, meaning nuclear-capable bombers, basically to go buzz them. We do it all the time now.
Yeah.
We went through just news stories that we've seen this calendar year of President Trump presumably ordering B-1 or B-2 nuclear-capable bombers to fly near North Korea. It happened on March 22nd. It happened on May 2nd. It happened May 29th. It happened June 8th, June 20th, July 6th, July 8th, July 17th, July 19th, July 30th, August 7th, August 31st. It happened this weekend on Saturday.
And still no missile attack. Wouldn't you fucking know it? That doesn't matter. My theory is correct and will be proven correct in the long term. And happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy, joy. Doesn't matter if nothing happened. I'm asking questions.
Nuclear-capable bombers buzzing North Korea. I mean, the way we respond to their threats and their threatening rhetoric now is by sending strategic bombers near to the North Korean peninsula. The president insults them and threatens them, which they take as a declaration of war, and then we send nuclear-capable bombers. That's pretty much what we're doing now.
Yep, that's right.
And we do it all the time. Yeah,
and it's working.
But it's one thing to threaten nuclear war. It's another thing to threaten to shoot down U.S. military aircraft. They have shot down...
That's the line. It's one thing to threaten nuclear war. It's another thing to threaten a plane.
U.S. military aircraft in the past. So...
I mean, the nuclear war threat, that's just by the by. Threatening to shoot down a plane, well, that happened about 40 years ago, so that's credible.
That's my other question.
Okay.
What is the United States likely to do in response to this new threat from North Korea that they're going?
I don't know, get the leaders of North Korea and South Korea to skip over the border joyfully and gleefully whilst they hug and hold hands?
Going to start shooting down U.S. military planes.
Oh.
If, as I expect, the United States is going to keep flying these strategic bombers near North Korea because they don't want to stand down from a threat like that.
Oh, yeah, that's what they were doing.
Does that mean that we're now at an increased risk of the worst happening?
No, actually. You're at an increased risk of this happening, Rachel. Check it out. Look at this risk here. Look at this increased risk. Oh. I think there's an increased risk of you hugging a teddy bear and going, oh, isn't that wonderful?
Maybe not by deliberate intention, but maybe because of mistake or miscommunication or miscalculation. These are the questions I am worried about. I think they're also questions that can be answered with the right expert. Joining us now is the...
Let's get the expert on. I love an expert. Let me just loosen up here. Let me just loosen up. Crack those knuckles, baby. Okay, I'm ready for the expert. Give me the answers. I need answers, damn it. We demand answers!
Right, expert. Joe Srincione, president of
he's
the
happy.
Plowshares Fund, who now, I'm pleased to say, is MSNBC's nuclear security analyst. Mr. Srincione, congratulations on this.
We went out and hired a nuclear security analyst. That was a short fucking contract.
MSNBC gig, and I'm really glad to have you here.
Thank you very much, Rick.
I guess we don't need him anymore. One less wage to pay.
Rachel, it's a pleasure to be here.
Let me ask you the sort of specific stuff that I'm worried about
Must have had a job for a week.
first. Do we know if they are capable of setting off an atmosphere?
Nuclear security analyst. Congratulations on the appointment of being our new nuclear security analyst. Meanwhile, in the real world... Oh, Kim, did you hear? Did you hear the American outlet MSNBC? I don't know why the Korean's Russian. Did you hear the American outlet MSNBC hired a Korea nuclear analyst? Oh yes, it's wonderful, isn't it? Yes, we sure showed him. It's hilarious. I'm a big fan of Rachel Maddow. I love that guy. Oh, Kim's haircut is actually very similar to Rachel's. If you look here. Look at the two. Look at the two haircuts. Let me throw Rachel back up. Rachel, Kim. Rachel, Kim. Maybe there's something they're not telling us. Hopefully the nuclear strategic expert will get to the bottom of this.
Nuclear test of the type they threatened today.
Probably. The last test they had was almost certainly a hydrogen bomb. It was quite large. Yes. Hundreds of kilotons of explosive force.
Hundreds.
That's the size of a hydrogen bomb. Could they put it on the nose cone of a missile? Probably. U.S. intelligence says we have to make that assumption, and our military planners now plan for that eventuality. But it would be very risky. There's no certainty here. So, yes, they could do it. Could they do it reliably? Could they, I think your word was screw it up? Yes. They could screw it up. They could send this missile over.
Oh, okay. Thanks for bringing on the expert to tell us that somebody can strap a warhead to the front of a missile and get it wrong. Like, yeah. Woo! I tell you what, I've been experting about nuclear weapons for the best part of 30 dang years, and I can tell you that it is entirely possible to strap a nuclear warhead to the top of a missile and get it wrong. Woo! This is why we hired you, to be our nuclear expert.
Over Japan, and it might not make it over Japan.
It
could explode prematurely. It could fall into the ocean. It could explode too close to Japan.
Anywhere.
The plan would be to put it deep out into the Pacific, actually in the area roughly.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the weeds of rocketry and nuclear science, but it is true. Sometimes missiles don't operate as they should. Like, you know, I guess now now maybe I can get a job as a nuclear strategic weapons expert on MSNBC. Sometimes the bomb goes off before you want it to. Yep. Wow. I'm in awe of this guy's knowledge.
Where we used to test, we detonated about 100 hydrogen bombs in the Pacific. But it could go wrong, and that could be absolutely catastrophic.
Can I just ask you, I know you just said we did this 100 times with our own nuclear program. Yep. If they do it and they don't screw it up, if they do it and they do it correctly, is that also a dangerous thing in terms of fallout?
Absolutely. I mean, the fallout from our hydrogen bombs spread around the world. It wasn't just regional. It was carried by the wind. It's one of the reasons that President Kennedy and the Russians, the Soviets, negotiated what they called a limited test ban treaty back in 1963 to stop atmospheric tests. The Soviets and the U.S. stopped. Other countries, France, China, gradually stopped. As you said, the last one on Earth was in 1980. But then there's also, it's not just the radiation, it's the shock of this. Remember, this was 1980. Most people in the United States were born after 1980. Median age is about 37. So most people have never seen a hydrogen bomb go off in the atmosphere, never seen a mushroom cloud. This was a hugely psychologically shocking event to see something like this, and it's unpredictable what the U.S. response would be.
Yeah, speaking of psychologically shocking, ladies and gentlemen, check out this little man love session. Check out this bromance. I mean, they're literally holding hands. This is shocking. This is shocking stuff. Look at this. This is shocking. Look at the smiles. It looks like a smile, but this man is actually in deep shock. Deep psychological shock. Yep. Very shocking stuff. Very shocking. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Very funny. Oh. Did you see Rachel Maddow? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. It was shocking.
Joe, what do you make of this threat, which is not a nuclear threat,
No.
that North Korea says that they now see it as their right and their prerogative to shoot down U.S. military planes, even if they don't cross into North Korean airspace? I know that their anti-aircraft capability is not the same as ours, and I know that their Air Force isn't necessarily state-of-the-art. But is this a real risk?
Is it a real risk?
Absolutely, and that's why the Air Force, when they flew those B-1 bombers up the coast of North Korea, farther north than any U.S. plane has flown in this century, they sent F-15s to escort them. They sent a defensive unit. Remember, in 2010, 2003 rather, 2003. The North Koreans sent MiG-21s up to scare away a reconnaissance plane, which scooted out of danger quickly. Yeah, I think there's a real risk here. You know, I'm a big admirer of Admiral James Stavridis, the dean of the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy up at Tufts. And he puts the odds of a conventional war with Korea right now at 50-50. And
50-50?
The odds of a nuclear war at 1 in 10. Wow. I think that's about right, except I'd put the odds of a nuclear war higher. I don't think there'd be a fire break once we started firing each other. Nuclear experts, nuclear security experts, Asia hands, are freaked out today at what they see as this escalatory crisis. It got so bad that the experts at 38 North, one of the leading expert sites, had to do an editorial today saying, take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath.
People are very...
North Korea. Trump's comments were declaration of war, ladies and gentlemen.
Very worried about this crisis. It is, as one said, the closest we've come to a nuclear war since the Cuban Missile Crisis. This is a dangerous new phase of this confrontation.
Dangerous
Joe Strancioni, president of the Plowshares Fund, MSNBC nuclear security analyst. Joe, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel.
Okay, lots more to get to tonight. Stay with us.
I've got to admit, Rachel can be quite charming at times. She can be quite charming. But there you have it. The flashback machine. Nuclear war is inevitable. That was from September. New England Patriots, thanks for joining us. That was from back in September. So I just thought, with all the news on North Korea, we should just roll back, because I don't want to let these people off the hook. I don't let these people off the hook. I watch the liberal mainstream press, and I take notes, and I remember. I remember what you said. I remember what you said, Rachel. Lunatic dictator Donald Trump and his tweets are going to cause meltdowns. The threats are real. And we tried telling you, no, he's just doing something different. He's doing something different. He's minimizing the threat by belittling them. Where all the previous presidents were like, oh my God, I hope you don't bomb us or do something. I'm sorry, I'm taking your threat seriously. Donald Trump was like, go for it. Try it. Try me. I've got a big button and it works. And all of these people were melting down. Oh, you can't say that. No previous president's ever said that. You can't do this. You can't do that. And they were all wrong. They were all wrong.